Jenny Slatten, once the underdog heroine of 90 Day Fiancé, now finds herself at 67, living in a cramped house in Jaipur, struggling with every day as if she's starting over from scratch. She left her home, her comfort, and her country for love, chasing a man decades younger across continents. But how did someone fans once cheered for end up trapped in stress, constant dependency, and heartbreak? At first, it seemed like the ultimate victory story. Jenny defied expectations, ignored age norms, and flew halfway around the world for love. Online deception didn't scare her. Visa hurdles didn't stop her. And yet, here she is, fumbling through chores, trying to survive in a family home she never truly belonged to. The wedding, the excitement, the fan adoration, they all feel like a memory of someone else's story. The stakes couldn't be higher. A 30-year age gap, clashing cultural norms, constant scrutiny, and a man whose family wasn't fully on board created a perfect storm. And underneath it all, a relationship that started with a catfish twist, kept its secrets just long enough to pull Jenny deeper into this world. She chased a dream. But now that dream is showing cracks. Every morning is a struggle, every interaction carries tension, and every step forward feels like walking on a tightrope. Wait till you see the moment fans realize Jenny's dream wasn't what it seemed. Jenny Slatten was already in her 60s when she found Sumit online, a man 3 decades younger. Most people would scroll past, shrug, and move on. But Jenny didn't. She saw something in him. Something worth risking everything for. At the time, fans loved her courage. Here was a woman refusing to let age define her love life, diving headfirst into a romance that most would call impossible. Then came the first shocker. Sumit wasn't who he claimed to be. Jenny thought she was talking to a man named Michael Jones, someone entirely different. Months of video chats, planning a future, sharing secrets, all built on someone else's face. For many, this would have ended it. Most people would have shut the laptop and walked away. Not Jenny. Allegedly, she saw past the deception. She didn't run. Instead, she booked a flight to India in 2013, determined to meet the man behind the profile. This was the moment her underdog story really began. Flying across the world at that age, navigating a country she barely knew, risking heartbreak on every step, Jenny embraced chaos with a courage that demanded attention. Fans immediately connected with her. This was against all odds in action. She didn't just arrive, she integrated. Visa hurdles, family skepticism, language gaps, and cultural expectations couldn't stop her momentum. Jenny was determined to make love win, no matter the cost. Even when she stayed with Sumit's family under the guise of friendship, the tension simmered. She learned household chores, received their hospitality, but kept the romance secret. The deception added layers to the drama. The stakes were higher than most realized. This wasn't a simple love story. It was a test of loyalty, courage, and judgment. Fans ate it up. They cheered her bravery. They rooted for the older woman defying convention and refusing to let her age dictate her happiness. And yet, even in those early victories, hints of trouble were already there. Cultural gaps, secret keeping, and financial strain were quietly lurking beneath the surface. Every risk she took, every decision to trust Sumit despite the red flags, planted seeds that would grow into the very challenges she would face years later. But no one expected the honeymoon would hide the storm brewing beneath the surface. At first, moving to India felt like a dream for Jenny. She had crossed oceans, defied conventions, and won her wedding. But dreams often collide with reality. The excitement of romance faded quickly when the daily grind hit, and suddenly, every small task felt monumental. Speaking Hindi, even the basics, was a mountain she hadn't climbed. Simple conversations turned into misunderstandings. Ordering groceries, figuring out transportation, even navigating local markets became a test of patience and composure. And then there were the chores. Cooking, cleaning, helping at the family cafe, Tasks that seemed simple in theory became stress points in practice. Jenny, who had managed her life independently for decades, found herself fumbling with cash registers, miscounting change, and overcomplicating recipes. Every mistake drew a quiet tension from Summit's family. Their initial skepticism hadn't vanished. It simmered, waiting for cracks to appear. Summit's family had been hesitant from the start. Some days, they welcomed Jenny with open arms, guiding her through cooking techniques or showing her how to clean in ways that honored local customs. Other days, the frustration was palpable. Expectations clashed with Jenny's comfort zone. Cultural norms she hadn't absorbed suddenly became rules she had to follow, and each misstep widened the gap between intention and perception. Even Summit struggled to bridge the divide. He wanted Jenny to feel at home, but also needed her to adapt, to integrate, to shoulder small responsibilities. Each misunderstanding added strain. The couple's private frustrations began spilling into public view, creating a feedback loop. Jenny stressed, Summit stressed, family stressed, and the cameras caught every beat. Fans watching her early triumphs now began noticing cracks. The woman who was once celebrated for courage and determination started to appear, in some moments, overwhelmed and unprepared. Some argued she was simply adjusting. Others began labeling her problematic, frustrated by her complaints and resistance to learn. Many cliffhangers cropped up every episode. Jenny spilling coffee at the caf, misreading instructions, or snapping at Summit over small disagreements. Every blunder was magnified under the reality TV lens. The cultural clash wasn't just language or chores. It was emotional. Jenny felt isolated. Her support system from the U.S. was far away. Summit, younger and conditioned by local family dynamics, handled things differently. Miscommunication escalated. What looked like stubbornness to Jenny felt like reasonable caution to his parents. Dependency intensified as Jenny relied on Summit for guidance, translation, and even mobility. Simple decisions that used to be hers alone now involved constant negotiation and stress. Fans started to notice patterns. The underdog heroine they rooted for was struggling with adaptation in ways they hadn't anticipated. What was once a story of triumph became a tense watch, a relationship under pressure. Yet even amidst complaints and errors, Jenny showed determination to push forward, refusing to retreat to comfort zones, stubbornly holding on to the dream that brought her here. Fans started asking, could love alone survive when reality hit this hard? Money quickly became one of the sharpest stress points for Jenny. She had moved halfway across the world, chasing a dream, but dreams don't pay bills. Her savings and social security helped, but they weren't enough to cover the costs of daily life in a new country, especially one with its own currency, rules, and unexpected expenses. Summit's income became the lifeline, and when his chef job hit turbulence, the cracks in their financial setup widened. Living in a cramped household made every financial decision visible and every mistake public. On-screen moments showed Jenny fumbling with cash registers, miscounting rupees, and struggling to balance transactions at the family caf. She complained about early mornings, long hours, and unfamiliar routines. Each small error or hesitation drew frustration from family members who were now funding not just the couple's lives, but also their own new business venture. The tension was quiet at first, simmering under polite smiles, but the cameras caught it all. Dependency added another layer to the stress. Jenny relied on Summit for translation, advice, and navigating day-to-day life, creating a dynamic that amplified both the emotional and practical risks. The age gap, which had seemed romantic in the early episodes, now made this reliance more pronounced. Summit was supposed to be building his own stability, yet he was constantly supporting a partner who couldn't fully support herself. Fans watching noticed the growing gap between expectations and reality. Jenny had dreamed of independence, of carving a life in India while proving her devotion. The reality was a cramped household, long hours at the cafe, constant guidance from family, and a financial dependency that magnified every conflict. Moments that seemed small, forgetting a price, mishandling a recipe, or missing a cue, had ripple effects, creating arguments and tension that could easily have been avoided. The emotional toll was heavy. Jenny's stress compounded with Summit's pressure to maintain calm and manage the household. Her complaints, while understandable in isolation, started to feel repetitive. The dream of a romantic, adventurous life in India was colliding headfirst with the harsh truths of survival, finances, responsibility, and practical skills mattered as much as love. And the household tension wasn't just theoretical. Every mistake made money matters worse. Every misstep at the cafe became visible to family, and every complaint chipped away at goodwill. What was meant to be a shared effort slowly became a source of stress for everyone. It all came to a head when one small misstep threatened the entire household harmony. Tensions that had been simmering quietly for years finally started boiling over. Jenny's frustration often came out in sharp words, snapping at Summit over minor disagreements, and even pointing fingers during arguments. On-screen moments show her shouting during chores, tossing verbal jabs when expectations weren't met, and reacting defensively whenever Summit or his family offered guidance. Every small household misstep quickly escalated into a bigger confrontation, and fans couldn't look away. Summit, in contrast, stayed calm. He tried to explain, to reason, to diffuse situations, and yet his patience often highlighted Jenny's struggles. Her resistance to learning Hindi, refusing to fully adopt household routines, and hesitating at even simple cafe tasks stood out in stark relief. Where Summit moved deliberately and measuredly, Jenny's stress spilled over in loud, emotional bursts. Watching these patterns develop created a tense rhythm for the audience, calm versus chaos, patience versus frustration. Then came disputes with other cast members. During tell-all sessions and spin-offs, fellow women who also relocated for love became touchpoints for comparison. Jenny often positioned herself as a model of adaptation, criticizing others for struggling in India. But viewers could see the disconnect. While she lectured, cameras caught her fumbling at small tasks, missing cultural cues, and complaining repeatedly about daily life. This contrast fueled social media debates and intensified fan scrutiny. Psychologically, what we see is stress colliding with expectation. Jenny entered a world she hadn't fully mastered, relying heavily on Summit for translation, guidance, and emotional support. Stress amplified every reaction. Small errors became triggers. Minor misunderstandings escalated into shouting matches. Her coping pattern was reactive. She vented, she argued, she complained, instead of pausing to adapt or problem solve. Summit's calm responses, meanwhile, reinforced her visibility, showing every gap between intention and action. Many cliffhangers peppered the episodes. Would she finally learn the language? Or would another misstep create embarrassment at the cafe? Would her argument with Summit resolve? Or spiral into silence and resentment? Each scene built suspense, showing viewers that even the smallest domestic moment could trigger a cascade of tension. Fans began questioning not just the relationship, but her approach. Was Jenny stubborn, or was she struggling under genuine pressure? Was Summit patient, or was he suppressing his own frustrations for the camera? The ambiguity kept viewers engaged, debating motives, behaviors, and consequences. Jenny's journey here wasn't about love failing. It was about the human cost of stress, dependency, and mismatched expectations. And just when fans thought she might finally adjust, another explosive moment hit. Fans, who once cheered for Jenny's bravery, began to shift. The underdog heroine of 90 Day Fiancé now looked to some like a woman struggling to adapt, constantly complaining, and relying heavily on Summit and his family. Social media lit up with debates. Threads dissected every calf mishap, every argument caught on camera, every complaint about chores. Viewers who had once rooted for her resilience now asked a simple but sharp question. Was she holding the relationship back? Comments ranged from sympathy to criticism. Some fans defended her, saying, "She left everything behind for love. Give her a break." Others were harsher. "She complains more than she contributes. She's refusing to learn the language even after years. Why should Summit shoulder this alone?" Posts and videos analyzed her behavior, comparing early triumphs to the more stressful, everyday reality of her life in Jaipur. The contrast between perception and reality fueled speculation. Jennie's early story, the courageous woman crossing oceans for love, was still in fans' minds. But the ongoing struggles painted a different picture. Audiences debated. Was it age, culture, or just personal resistance? Could love alone sustain a relationship under such pressure? Could a 30-year age gap survive when financial dependence, language barriers, and daily stress collided? Many cliffhangers appeared in every episode recap. Viewers tagged each other in posts, asking, "Would you stay if you were in her shoes?" Or is Summit being too patient? Or is Jennie refusing to adjust? Fan reactions weren't just commentary, they became a running conversation, shaping how new viewers approached the story and fueling speculation about what might happen next. Jennie's arguments with Summit and clashes with other cast members only amplified the conversation. On-screen feuds became online debate fodder. Each yelling match, frustrated sigh, or misstep in the calf sparked threads analyzing behavior, motivation, and cultural misunderstanding. Fans dissected every angle. And for a show like 90 Day Fiancé, the social media response became almost as important as the on-screen drama itself. The divide grew sharper over time. Some continued to see Jennie as a brave woman navigating impossible odds. Others saw someone resistant to adaptation, someone whose struggles had shifted from charming vulnerability to frustrating dependency. The online conversation mirrored the tension in her household, constant, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. The online reactions were brutal, and the divide among fans only grew deeper. Jennie Slatten's story is a powerful example of how love can be both inspiring and complicated. Crossing continents, defying age norms, and chasing a relationship built on hope and emotion seems heroic. But her journey also highlights the very real challenges that come with age gap, cross-cultural relationships. Cultural adaptation, financial independence, and personal accountability aren't just optional. They are essential. Without them, even the most passionate love story can encounter cracks that widen over time. Emotionally, Jennie's experience shows how stress and isolation can magnify tension. She left a life she knew for a world that demanded she learn new norms, routines, and expectations, often without support. Dependency on Summit for translation, mobility, and guidance placed enormous pressure on both of them. Each minor misstep, miscommunication, or cultural misunderstanding became a trigger. Fans saw the surface drama, but beneath it was a woman navigating uncertainty, fatigue, and vulnerability in an environment that didn't come naturally to her. Practical lessons are just as clear. Learning the local language, participating meaningfully in household and work responsibilities, and establishing financial independence are not just chores, they are tools for survival. Jennie's difficulties with bills, calf orders, and daily tasks highlighted the gap between intention and action. Her story reminds viewers that love alone cannot fill practical needs. Even with dedication, failing to meet basic day-to-day challenges can create tension that escalates into emotional strain and relational conflict. Her behavioral patterns reveal a lot about coping under pressure. Complaints, verbal confrontations, and resistance to guidance were reactions to a high-stakes, high-stress environment. Stress made her more reactive, less able to anticipate consequences, and more dependent on Summit's patience and calm demeanor. Watching this dynamic unfold offers insight into how humans respond to overwhelming circumstances. Even someone determined, brave, and deeply committed can struggle when emotional and practical demands collide. Yet there's nuance here. Jenny's persistence and willingness to remain in a difficult situation show a side of loyalty and courage that fans sometimes overlook. She could have walked away after discovering Summit's initial deception, after struggling with family expectations, or after facing repeated failures in adaptation. But she stayed. She continued trying, learning in fits and starts, and committing to the life she had chosen. That persistence, even when flawed, adds complexity to her story and keeps viewers invested in what happens next. The takeaway isn't about blame. It's about understanding human behavior under pressure, the intersection of culture, age, and dependency, and the importance of aligning expectations with reality. Relationships like Jenny's are high risk by nature. Stress, isolation, cultural differences, and age gaps amplify both triumphs and failures. For fans, the story serves as a cautionary tale, but also as a reminder that empathy is crucial when evaluating someone navigating such challenges on camera. The unresolved tensions linger. Family dynamics remain complicated, financial stability is fragile, and daily stresses continue to shape the relationship. Fans can speculate endlessly about whether adaptation or compromise will finally tip the balance. Jenny's story isn't over, and every choice she makes carries weight. And yet, even after all the mistakes, some moments show why she couldn't walk away. That Jenny's journey started with hope, courage, and a story that had fans rooting for her every step of the way. From an American woman in her 60s falling in love with a man decades younger, to crossing continents, navigating visas, and winning a wedding against all odds, she embodied the underdog heroine. The early triumphs felt inspiring, almost cinematic. Fans celebrated her bravery, her persistence, and her refusal to let age or cultural barriers define her destiny. But reality has a way of testing even the strongest love. Once the cameras rolled on daily life, the cracks began to show. Language barriers, household chores, calf mistakes, and dependency on Summit and his family turned romance into a high-pressure experiment. The age gap, once romantic, now amplified stress. Family expectations, cultural norms, and practical demands collided with Jenny's good intentions. Each misstep, each argument, each complaint added layers of tension that no amount of devotion could erase. Public perception followed a similar arc. The underdog fans cheered for became, in many eyes, a struggling, dependent spouse. Social media debates, critiques, and side-by-side comparisons with other cast members amplified every flaw and misjudgment. Jenny's story became a reminder that love alone cannot overcome structural realities, cultural gaps, or practical challenges. Persistence matters, but without adaptation and accountability, even the most determined couple faces uphill battles. Yet even amid the struggles, Jenny's story holds nuance. Her choice to stay, to keep trying despite repeated obstacles, reveals why fans remain captivated. The tension is unresolved. The challenge is ongoing, and the outcome's far from certain. Next time, you won't believe who's about to face their biggest betrayal yet.